Hello, everyone, and welcome to Friday's edition of Comic Book Cove. I'm Tom Morris.
And I'm Josh Holderbaum.
This week, I already said we're going to 2 episodes a week, and this is Friday's episode. So maybe one day I'll get it right. I don't know why I don't, because I just don't. Anyway, this episode, we're going more Justice League-ish, where we have some of the new and some of the established and just some all around Justice League.
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
Yeah, definite recurring theme being family this week. To me,
Yes.
definitely felt like that.
Yes, all one big happy family in the DC universe.
Happy, possibly little chaotic family
Yes.
in some cases.
The family that maybe you only want to visit once every so often.
Yeah.
Well, family every so often. This episode of Comic Book Cove, we are going to discuss the following titles. Cyborg number 1, Aquaman number 7, Green Lanterns number 7, Justice League number 5, Superman number 7, and Trinity number 1. As always, spoilers ahead. Cyborg number 1, The Imitation of Life Part 1, Awakening. Cyborg is at an identity crisis, to say the very least. He's kind of treated like he is human, but they treat him down at Star Labs as if he's not. He's constantly having tests done on him to see if he's at optimal percentage, his accuracy. He's getting tune-ups. I don't think he really cares for that too much.
Yeah, no, he just wants to go and be Victor Stone.
Yes.
When he prevents a crime or does that like in the beginning of this issue, he just wants to go chill out for a while.
Right.
But no, they have to test his reflexes. They have to test his accuracy. They have to make sure his motor skills aren't diminishing. And it's a very calculated, very precise life he has to live. I mean, where he's kind of being treated almost like machinery.
Exactly.
Making sure he's calibrated just right. And
his optimum output level and his percentage of is his CPU running efficiently. And he just kind of jokes about it, but he begins to wonder, is he not human? They're not treating him like human. Is he just a Frankenstein type monster that, well, I'm property. That's what they view me as. Am I truly human? He begins to wonder himself.
Yeah. And through a lot of this issue, I was kind of thinking of like the works of Isaac Asimov, who we know from like the movie I, Robot.
Yes.
Where you're thinking about, can a robot be conscious? I mean, Cyborg's not a robot. He's a cyborg. He's a guy. Right. He just has robotic parts to him, but he is a guy at his core. And I was also thinking a lot about Data from Star Trek. I mean, there are episodes of Star Trek where they had to establish that Data was his own sentient being.
Yes.
He wasn't the property of Starfleet. They couldn't just take him apart because they wanted to. And it feels like that sort of thing. And Cyborg's one of his greatest traits in these issues, which kind of carried over from the animated series, is he has a sense of humor.
Yes, he does.
I mean, he has this really zany personality that's sort of locked in, and that should make him human, but it seems like everyone just sort of ignores that.
Right. When he's at Star Labs, which is in a section of Star Labs is in Detroit, they keep testing him. He's laughing it off. They're checking to see his efficiency. He wants to get out. He gets out with a friend. They get ice cream. And they're saying, well, are you able to eat ice cream? And he makes a witty comment.
Yeah, he says something like, I can eat anything and turn it into fuel. And she asks, well, is ice cream okay? And he says, yeah, what was it, strawberry ice creams with red sprinkles, lots of sprinkles, as many sprinkles as you can get.
And as he's having this moment, his 2 kids recognize him because he's saying, well, no one's going to recognize me. He puts his little disguise on, but they recognize him as Cyborg, and they're mentioning about the heart.
Yeah, they're he's kind of posing for the little photo op.
Yes.
There in the restaurant, and the one kid asks Cyborg, "Hey, is that your girlfriend you're with?"
Yes.
And the other kid says, "He doesn't need a girlfriend. He doesn't have a heart."
Right.
They view him as being a robot.
And that stung him. That stung him quite a bit.
Yeah.
And hopefully, people will see with his actions and his deeds that he'll be able to change that. And as he left, that bothered him quite a bit. He went to a jazz club, which I thought was kind of cool. And he was talking to one of the older musicians who was blind, and he said, just because I'm blind doesn't mean I'm any less of a person. And he feels the music. How do you feel alive? Just listen to the music, because it's not programmed. It isn't on a disc. It isn't on a record. It isn't a live stream. This is organic, where people can spontaneously change the melody and the notes. And he is listening to it, and he starts to relax and enjoy what he means about life is kind of spontaneous, like the music. To truly enjoy it, you listen to it, listen to the changes, because humans are playing it. I thought that was a really nice touch.
Yeah, and again, I mean, it felt a lot like Star Trek.
Yeah.
Because Data got into music a lot in those episodes, where he would play instruments, he would explore art. I mean, he ended up owning a cat.
Yeah, named Spot, right?
Yeah, Spot, yeah. Yep.
In the meantime, this is happening. We see what looks like a pre-cyborg that looks like still a stone is looking for e-waste, and he finds it in Kilgore with the percentage sign for the O, which you really enjoyed typing up.
Oh, it hurt me just to type that in the notes. It really hurts.
Right.
It really, really hurts.
So he's sending other robots, other machines after Cyborg. What's the purpose of this? Why is he continuing to test Cyborg?
He gives sort of an interesting little monologue at the beginning of this issue when he first finds Kilgore, which I'm just assuming that's how you pronounce it, because it has a percentage point where the O should be.
Right, we'll just call it Kilgore.
Yeah, but he's discussing the reasons why e-waste happens, and that some people say, oh, they should be repaired and then put back to use.
Right.
Some of them say, oh, they should be just maybe melted down and then used for something else. And then he also mentions that some should just be locked away because they're too dangerous.
Yes.
And in Cyborg Rebirth #1, it sounded like he wanted to launch some sort of like robot rebellion
revolution,
thing. Sort of like a kill all humans type thing.
Yes.
It just makes me think of Bender from Futurama.
Right.
But I mean, it seems like he's trying to unshackle them, maybe because of perceived mistreatments by humanity.
Yep.
And that would definitely fit in with where Cyborg is in his life right now, where he feels like he's not exactly being respected by not only those around him, but by those he protects.
Agreed. Cyborg #1, I like Cyborg. I like the character. I like the setting of, where is he finding his place in his family? In the family that he has right now with his father and the people around him, view him as kind of optimal, as binary. It either is or isn't. And he's showing people that he's different. He's unique. He's a human being still, and he's unique. And I enjoy reading Cyborg. It's another title that he's gone from a Teen Titan to some front center of the DC universe. I'm enjoying that.
Yeah. It's worth noting, too, in some of this issue, I was reading him in the voice of animated Cyborg.
Okay.
And a few of those. Not as much as I was with Raven that we read.
I read him more in the Superpowers from the old 80s cartoon.
I didn't grow up with that, but I know.
But you have the toys.
I know. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Cyborg #1, great storyline, imitation of life. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens in the next issues of Cyborg. Aquaman #7, uneasy lies the head that wears the crown. Aquaman #7, great issue.
Yeah. Didn't take long to figure out that Nemo was behind the attack on the USS Pontchartrain, which they admitted in what was basically like a board meeting.
Yeah. Let's hold on the board meeting real quick. Let's talk about where Aquaman at the very beginning, all of the captains and all of the citizens of Atlantis that hold power, rank, they all want to talk to the king.
Yeah, all at once.
Yes. I enjoyed that as different panels they were showing. I need to speak with His Majesty about the military. I need to speak about customs. I need to speak. We'll see you all at once. And he's just sitting there, and Mira says, you're just sitting there. I'm sitting here thinking, and bring so and so in, and I like that he was still dealing with the after effects of being on the surface, because he said that he wondered if he was still accepted by the Justice League, someone that he trusted. And then he starts to deal with the daily goings-ons of his kingdom. I thought that was cool how they brought in everyone back and just was talking. I like that part.
Yeah, and it's a good introduction to a lot of different
Yes.
Aquaman characters, most of whom I think are pretty new.
Yes.
And it also brings in, because the first guy they bring in is one of the ministers of ceremonies.
Yes.
And he's concerned about Aquaman's marriage to Mera. That Mera is not from Atlantis.
Yes.
And this is kind of a recurring theme in this issue, is that Aquaman is different from the Atlanteans. I mean, he's a half-breed. He's an Atlantean and a human. He spent time on both worlds. And Mera is not even from Atlantis. I mean, she's a different entity altogether.
But she's royalty, but she isn't from Atlantis.
Yeah, she's separate from them, and there are segments of Atlantean society that are not comfortable with that. This minister wanted her to go through rituals or ceremonies to ensure that she was, was ready to marry him. And eventually, later in the issue, Aquaman goes to meet with Coram Roth of the Deluge, the terrorist leader who he captured quite a few issues back.
Yes.
And that's Rath's explanation for why he doesn't like Aquaman.
Yep.
Is he's too progressive. He even uses the word half-breed.
Uses half-breed and progressive.
Yeah. You're too progressive, and you're not paying attention to the traditional Atlantean values.
Yes.
And it seems like in addition to fighting against all the machinations that are trying to bring down Atlantis, he has to fight against some very conservative aspects of his society.
Exactly.
I mean, that's the society he rules, too.
And which kind of parallels what is going on in the real world here, which I feel that makes Aquaman one of the, without getting too political, it is a look at how we are in society as well, and different. And that's what's really cool about Aquaman is, first we'll go with Mera was, okay, there's customs and traditions, and Aquaman at first says she's not going to do that. And she when they meet and with the Deluge terrorist, and then she says, you know what, if this will put people at ease with your only ceremony rituals, I will go through them. How hard could they be if it gets people on our side? If it's a tradition, maybe some of the older people will respect that. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And so all the while he's fighting to try to bring a new way of thinking against a lot of ingrained rituals and customs, and this is how it's always been feeling. And especially with that, we go to Nemo, and Black Manta is fighting a few of the board members, killing them off, and saying, I killed the Fisher King, so I'm the Fisher King. And if you don't like it, you can say something. Everyone's kind of quiet after that.
Yeah. I still have to wonder how he even turns his head in that helmet.
Right.
Because it is funny to watch him, doing all these martial arts moves.
Right.
Here's the big Manta helmet. But,
they do, like you said, they do admit that they were the ones behind it, and they've been covert for so long. And Black Manta tells them, eventually, I'm not saying that we are coming out, but eventually we will be outed, because I know Arthur Curry my whole life. You pushed him, and now he's starting to push back, and he'll find out.
Yep.
And as you said, that when he was dealing with the Merc, when they were being pinned on it, he said, no, Deluge, I'm sorry. The Deluge, they were saying, I can't take credit for doing this, but whoever it is did a great job. And then there was some back and forth. Aquaman made him feel, well, they're doing it in your name, and it's surface dwellers that are doing it, and he was very upset about that.
Yeah, they're doing it to destroy Atlantis.
Yes.
And that would, that essentially turned Coram Wrath against them. The enemy of my enemy is my ally.
Yep.
So, I was kind of hoping for a little more excitement when we found out that Nemo was behind it, but at least we know, and it sets up what seems to be sort of Black Manta's preemptive strike.
Yes.
Again, because he wants to make sure that Aquaman doesn't figure that out.
Right.
Which, of course, he already has, because he's Aquaman.
Right. And so Black Manta says, we need a distraction. We need to keep Aquaman going. So he's reading a list of what items are there to fight or use, and they're like, oh, well, this one's too much. What about this one, Dr. Ivo? Oh, yeah. And I think, what is his, looks like his second in command now, the pirate? Blackjack.
Yep.
She said, yeah, Dr. Ivo made some stuff for us, but he didn't really know what he'd make. Send this one. Are you sure? Yes, send it. Yeah. And they're saying pretty much once it gets to a limit, we can't control it. Just point it to Atlantis and buy us some time.
Yeah, and up, just kind of outside Atlantis, here comes this giant monster coming out of the ground, and the Atlanteans they show in the little marketplace are, they're kind of feeling the tremors, but that's they're totally blowing it off. So that doesn't look like it's going to end well for those citizens. But when I saw that, I had to think about, Professor Ivo does a lot of big mutations. He himself is mutated. He's in kind of a freakish form. So I was even thinking maybe could that be Ivo himself?
That could be.
But we'll have to wait and see. But
Atlantis was really fleshed out in this issue. This is the first time we really got down into the different Atlanteans and a lot of their culture. This issue I felt was a great way to get reacquainted with Atlantis.
Yeah, it helps to make Aquaman more solid of a character if he has a more diverse, a more solidified city. I mean, just like Metropolis and Gotham City, we know certain places in those. There's streets that have names. There are districts of that. And in this, I mean, like the first couple pages where all those ministers and generals are trying to meet with them. They have different skin tones. They have, not only different names, different titles. Some of them have different accents. Kind of one sounded a little bit more Scottish than the others.
Yes.
They have all these different dialects. It really helps. And the one thing that really got me was Merc, who we've met before, who's sort of like the general who works for Aquaman. Not only does he have the hook hand, he has the black pants with the green trim that look a lot like what Aquaman used to wear in the 90s when he had his little bearded look, and he even has kind of the asymmetrical armor on his chest. It's like, he's like the walking 90s Aquaman.
Exactly.
It's just, it really, really made me happy to see that.
Yeah, that was a nice little Easter egg, like a little wink of, you remember this?
Yeah.
Aquaman's a great series. A great storytelling, great series, great art. Everything's great. We got a plot going that is starting to build up where we find out more about Aquaman, Mira, some of the humans that Aquaman has worked for, a lot about the society, the technology, and of course now Black Manta is the head of an organization that gives him more power. Great series, Aquaman. If you haven't read Aquaman yet, they really have made Aquaman cool. The series Aquaman is cool. It's fun to read.
Absolutely, yeah. It's probably one of the coolest issues one of the coolest series we've read so far,
and continue to read. Recommendation: if you haven't read Aquaman in this new universe, DC Rebirth, read it. You will enjoy it, and if you continue to read it, keep reading. Great character, great story. And with that, we're going to take our first break, and when we come back, we'll discuss Green Lanterns #7 and Justice League #5. We'll be back in just a moment.